You kept praying, even when your soul was tired. You kept showing up, even when nobody knew how heavy your heart had become. Some nights, you did not even know what to say anymore. You just sat there in silence, asking God for strength to make it through one more day. And God saw everything. He saw the moments you almost gave up. He saw the tears you hid from everyone else. He saw the exhaustion behind your smile. He saw the nights where your faith felt weak, but you still whispered his name. This message is not here to pressure you. It is not here to tell you to become stronger overnight. It is not here to promise a perfect life. This message is here because God wants your heart to rest. For so long, you have been carrying things silently, trying to stay calm, trying to stay faithful, trying to keep moving while your spirit felt tired. And maybe nobody around you truly understood how much strength it took just to keep going. But heaven saw it. God saw every quiet prayer, every moment you stayed awake thinking about your pain, every time you asked him, "Lord, please don't leave me like this." And he never left. Even in the silence, he stayed close. Even when you felt forgotten, he stayed near. And today, after everything you walked through, God is whispering something deeply personal to your heart. You finally did it. Not because you became perfect. Not because you suddenly stopped struggling. Not because life became easy. But because you kept holding on to him even while your soul was tired. You kept praying. You kept breathing. You kept believing even when you felt empty inside. There were moments when you felt emotionally exhausted, but you still tried to stay strong for everyone around you. You answered messages while your heart was hurting. You smiled in front of people while silently asking God to help you keep going. And sometimes the hardest part was not the pain itself. It was the feeling that nothing was changing. You prayed. You waited. You hoped. But the silence felt so long. And deep inside, you started wondering if God still saw you at all. But he did. God saw every moment you chose not to give up. He saw the mornings where getting out of bed already felt difficult. He saw the nights where you stared at the ceiling asking him for peace. And even when you felt spiritually empty, God never stopped listening. That is why this message is so important tonight. Because God is not speaking to the version of you that pretends to be okay. He is speaking directly to the tired part of your heart. The part that kept asking, "How much longer can I carry this?" And instead of demanding more from you, God is inviting you to rest. Not because your journey never mattered, but because he knows how heavy it has been. Sometimes people think faith means never feeling weak. But real faith is continuing to reach for God even when your soul feels exhausted. Real faith is whispering his name through tears. Real faith is saying, "Lord, I'm tired," and still staying close to him. And that is exactly what you did. You stayed. Even in confusion. Even in disappointment. Even in silence. You stayed with God. And heaven noticed that. That is why those words matter so much. You finally did it. You made it through a season that almost broke your spirit. You survived days nobody else understood. You carried pain you never fully explained. And still, God carried you too. Maybe you thought the silence meant God was distant. Maybe you thought your exhaustion meant you were failing spiritually. But what if God was still holding you, even in the moments where you felt nothing? What if his presence was closest during the nights you felt the weakest? Because sometimes, God does his deepest healing quietly. Not through noise. Not through pressure. Not through dramatic moments. But through peace slowly returning to a tired heart. And that is what is happening right now. God is not asking you to impress him. He is not asking you to hide your exhaustion. He already knows where your heart has been. He knows the prayers you repeated over and over. He knows the disappointment you never told anyone about. He knows the fear that kept you awake some nights. And still, he stayed beside you. You were never carrying this alone. Even when it felt like heaven was silent, God was still protecting your heart from breaking completely. That is why you are still here, still breathing, still listening, still reaching for him. And maybe tonight, for the first time in a long time, your soul can finally stop fighting for a moment. Not because every problem disappeared, but because God is reminding you that you do not have to carry everything by yourself anymore. You can rest in Him. You can stop trying to prove your strength. You can stop pretending you are okay when your heart feels tired. God is not asking for perfection from you tonight. He is offering peace. And slowly, gently, He is leading your heart back to rest. That is why those words are not about success. They are about survival. You finally did it. You made it through the darkness without letting go of God completely. Even when your faith felt small, it was still there. Even when your prayers became quiet, He still heard them. Even when your heart felt weak, He still stayed close. And right now, God is not looking at you with disappointment. He is looking at you with compassion. So breathe. Slow down for a moment. You have spent so much time surviving that you forgot what it feels like to let your heart rest. But tonight, God is not calling you into pressure. He is calling you into peace. He saw every hidden battle, every quiet breakdown, every moment where you felt emotionally drained and still tried to keep going. And He is not ashamed of your exhaustion. He understands it. God never expected you to carry everything alone. That is why He stayed beside you, even in silence. Even in the nights where you had no words left. Even in the moments where all you could do was sit quietly and ask Him for strength. He heard every silent prayer. And now, instead of pushing you harder, He is gently reminding your heart. You finally did it. Not because you conquered the world. Not because you became fearless. But because you survived without letting darkness take your faith completely. You kept returning to God. Again and again. Even while tired. Even while confused. Even while emotionally empty. And that matters more than you know. So stop carrying the fear that God abandoned you. He didn't. He was with you in every tear, every anxious thought, every lonely night, every silent prayer for peace. And now, God is leading your heart somewhere different. Not toward pressure, not toward performance, but toward rest. Your exhaustion was not the end. It was the moment God began leading your heart back to peace. So tonight, let your breathing slow down. Let your heart rest for a moment. You do not need to force tomorrow to happen tonight. You do not need to prove your worth to God. He already sees you. He already loves you. He already understands your pain. And even now, He is still holding you close. Rest now. God saw everything.